Speaking of Elon Musk's epic meme team, one of the guys just got canned for being outed as a Nazi. And no, his name is not Elon Musk. One of the other guys. One of the guys that Elon Musk hired. Shocking absolutely zero people. Yeah, real shocker here. 25-year-old rooting around in the code of the U.S. government's payment system likes to post things like normalize Indian hate. The other ones are also racist too. It's just that this one is the one that got cooked. Was it the 19-year-old white kid or the other 19-year-old white kid? Well, I assume that it wasn't the Indian one, considering he's talking about normalizing Indian hate. Wasn't one of them Indian? There's two Asian kids. The guy who got fired from DOGE for racist posts can't even argue if he's not racist because he explicitly brags about being racist. Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. Null PTR posted in July. When was it cool? Did it become cool? Here are the relevant pages from the article. Marco Elez is the first Elon Musk Doge boy to resign after the Wall Street Journal uncovered racist posts, including ones where he advocated for repealing the Civil Rights Act and backed the eugenic immigration policy. Elez previously worked at SpaceX and currently works at X. One of the funniest things you can be is like an anti-Indian racist when you're in the tech sector. Dude, what do you just hate 80% of your coworkers? Like, dude, you worked at SpaceX and now you're working at X. Virtually everyone around you is either a first-generation immigrant or Asian. What are we doing here? That's exactly what it looks like in tech, to be honest. 25-year-old employee Marco Elez resigned Thursday after the Wall Street Journal asked the White House about his connections to the account. The deleted profile associated with Elez, who was embedded in the Treasury Department to carry out efficiency measures, advocated repealing the Civil Rights Act and backed the eugenic immigration policy in the weeks before President Trump was inaugurated. He was popping off right before he got this new job, too. You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity, the account wrote on X in September. According to a Wall Street Journal review of the archive post, normalize Indian hate, the account wrote the same month, in reference to a post noting the prevalence of people from India in Silicon Valley. Null pointer, a misspelling of a keyword in the C++ programming language, was deleted in December, but hundreds of brash, sometimes sophomoric posts have been archived. The user appeared to have a special dislike for Indian software engineers. 99% of Indian H-1Bs, oh, that's why he had to resign. That's the real reason. 99% of Indian H-1Bs will be replaced by slightly smarter LLMs. They're going back. Don't worry, guys, the user posted in December. Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. Null pointer posted in July. In June, the user weighed on the conflict in the Middle East, offering some sympathy for Israel, but also posting, I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth. Nice, dude. Extreme centrist. Okay, it could be because of the H-1B thing, or more likely it could be because of Israel. It is wild that so many groypers, like so many open, active Nick Fuentes fans are getting highlighted by this administration. It is wild. This is just your average Republican. Yeah. Do background checks not exist anymore? Bro, Elon Musk did the background check, chatter. He hired him because he was racist. Elon Musk, 6 hours ago, post, bring back DOGE staffer who made inappropriate statements via a now deleted pseudonym. JD Vance, whose wife is Indian and has an Indian son. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because one of the inappropriate statements that the DOGE staffer made was something along the lines of like, we should normalize Indian racism, or we should do more Indian racism. Something along those lines. Okay. Yeah. Normalize Indian hate. I was racist before it was cool. You could not pay me to marry outside my ethnicity. 99% of Indian H-1Bs will be replaced by slightly smarter LLMs. They're going back. Don't worry, guys. That guy is now being defended by JD Vance, who has an Indian son. Like, the only level higher, the only way you can be cucked even more on this issue is if you yourself were Indian and were like, yeah, this is actually pretty sick. I, as an Indian guy, also think we should normalize Indian hate. And Ro Khanna did hit him hard on this. He said, are you going to tell him to apologize for saying normalize Indian hate before this rehire? Just asking for the sake of both of our kids. For the sake of both of our kids, grow up. Racist trolls on the internet, while offensive, don't threaten my kids. You know what does? A culture that denies grace to the people who make mistakes. A culture that encourages congressmen to act like whiny children. What do you mean? Dog, this dude is 25 years old. He's not a child. You're saying he's a kid for saying racist. He said it like 2 months ago. It's not like he was 14 when he tweeted that. He said it 2 months ago. What the hell? He literally, it's not like he's a child when he's making racist comments, but also an adult. How dare you say he's a child? A capable adult that is tasked with having all of your social security information, but also a racist troll that he is openly admitting is a racist troll on the internet. The argument doesn't make any damn sense. My son loves being socially ostracized, actually. If he's just a kid, he shouldn't get top security clearance. I cannot overstate how much I loathe this emotional blackmail pretending to be concerned. My kids, God willing, will be risk takers. They won't think constantly about whether a flippant comment or a wrong viewpoint will follow them around for the rest of their lives. They will tell stupid jokes. They will develop views that they later think are wrong or even gross. I made mistakes as a kid, and thank God I grew up in a culture that encouraged me to grow up and learn and feel remorse when I screwed up or offer grace when others did. Yeah, he said he wanted eugenic immigration policy and to repeal the Civil Rights Act 6 weeks ago. That is crazy. He's just like, come on. He's got a lot of growing up to do, but also he's grown up enough that he should command the Treasury Department. He should have control over the Treasury in its entirety. He's grown up. But also, he has a lot of growing up to do in terms of his racist trolling. I don't worry about my kids making mistakes or developing views that they later regret. Like, this kind of trolling old comments is incredibly stupid and unproductive when it's 10 years old, or when it's someone who said it when they were like 15. But if you're talking about someone who wrote these takes, who is now going to be in the federal government, who wrote these takes 2 weeks ago as a 25-year-old, or 2 months ago as a 25-year-old, then what are we talking about? Like, he just said it. How can you combine a reasonable position about like influencers or whatever who have changed and who have grown from their past positions with something that is happening right now? It's so crazy. The next step here is basically when someone says like, oh, I think black people should be removed from all positions of power, right, in the federal government because that's DEI yesterday. And then people go, hey, maybe this guy who is very clearly a white supremacist shouldn't be in office. And then they go, oh, that was yesterday. He's grown so much. Okay. He's grown so much from his past mistakes yesterday. You don't understand. Why are you doing cancel culture to a guy who is wearing a Klan's robe? Excuse me. We all make mistakes. Nobody's nerfing. Why is the vice president airing beef on Twitter? Because that's just how it is nowadays. They'll grow up to be a U.S. congressman who engages in emotional blackmail. They'll grow up to be a U.S. congressman who engages in emotional blackmail over a kid's social media post. You disgust me. A kid? So if he's a kid, then maybe he shouldn't be in a federal agency. He shouldn't have control over a federal agency. Like, which one is it? He's not. Is he a kid? Is he a racist troll kid? Then maybe he shouldn't have this much power. Big scoop. Musk's Doge team was fired by cybersecurity firm for leaking company secrets. Edward Korestein posted online that he had retained access to the firm's servers. Now he has access to sensitive government information. Elon Musk about to be like, this is illegal to report on. Mr. President, a second controversy from Elon Musk's Doge team has hit the towers, okay? Edward Korestein posted online that he had retained access to the firm's servers. 19-year-old member of Elon Musk's squad that crisscrosses U.S. government agencies was fired from an internship after he was accused of sharing information with a competitor. Edward has been terminated for leaking internal information to the competitor, said a June 2022 message from an executive of the firm, Path Network, which was seen by Bloomberg News. This is unacceptable and there's zero tolerance for this. A spokesperson for the Arizona-based hosting and data security firm said Thursday, I can confirm that Edward Korestein's brief contract was terminated after a conclusion of an internal investigation into leaking of proprietary company information that coincided with his tenure. Afterward, Korestein wrote that he'd retained access to the cybersecurity company's computers, though he said he hadn't taken advantage of it. I had access to every single machine, he wrote on Discord in late 2022, weeks after he was dismissed from Path Network, according to messages seen by Bloomberg. Posting under the name Rivage, which 6 people who know him said was his alias, Korestein said he could have wiped past customer supporting servers if he'd wished. He added, I never exploited it because it's just not me. Yeah, woke journalist Catherine Long, who doxed Doge staffer, has ties to USAID. Catherine Long, a Wall Street Journal reporter with connections to USAID, just doxed Doge team member Marco Alez and got him fired conveniently after targeting him as a Doge audits her former agency. This isn't journalism. She should be fired immediately. First of all, doxing is revealing private information about random citizens, okay, about private citizens. Journalists that are uncovering the names of government employees is not doxing, it's just reporting. And also mentioning their past behavior that is from the not so distant past, such as 2 months ago. What are we doing here? This is a public servant. Do you want public servant? I mean, I guess I don't want to hear the answer to that question. I was about to say, do you want public servants to have like overt, openly racist attitudes? And the answer for Elon Musk and the right wing is yes, absolutely. They do want that, yes. And it's wild because we're talking about someone who is tasked with regulating, controlling sensitive information, and is going to have a lot of control over federal regulatory agencies in general. Whereas Elon Musk's favorite account on his neo-Nazi website, Twitter, is Libs of TikTok, who literally does this deliberately, knowing full well that they'll get bomb threats to like random teachers that she claims falsely are pedophile groomers. Like, none of this makes sense. They want every single political enemy that they have decided is bad to suffer repercussions for the crime of, I guess, for the crime of, being gay while teaching. But also at the same time, if you are a government employee, God forbid we go, hey, you said really racist like 2 months ago. I feel like maybe you're not the best person, considering that you have no background, like no competent background whatsoever. One of the craziest aspects of this also is that this is the team DEI, okay? Team anti-DEI. Black and brown women of color that have to work extra goddamn hard to get to a top position. And immediately they're like, oh, they only got there because they're black. Or they only got there because they're brown. Meanwhile, the anti-DEI team is hiring 19-year-olds with broccoli haircuts with no competence whatsoever. Like, what the are we doing? We want the most competent people to be tasked with this job. That's why we hired this 19-year-old white kid who apparently in the past was fired from his internship for leaking proprietary information. His comments made in a Discord server focused on another competitor company worried executives of Path Network who believed there was no legitimate reason for a former employee to access their machines. According to a person familiar with the incident, the person asked not to be named, citing the sensitivity of the matter. Several of Corstein's online peers and former coworkers said they were surprised that the teenage friend they knew has been brought into one of the most high-profile teams in the Trump administration. His 2022 dismissal and the circumstances surrounding it add to questions about how he arrived in his new job with Musk's Department of Government Efficiency and how he'll handle sensitive government information that comes with it. Great stuff overall. Giving Elon Musk's goon squad access to systems that control payments to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and other key federal programs is a national security nightmare, said Senator Ron Wyden, an Oregon Democrat and a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Every hour, new disturbing details emerge to prove that these guys have no business anywhere close to sensitive information or critical networks. Yeah. We hate DEI. That's why we hired Pete Hegseth. That's why we appointed Pete Hegseth to lead the second largest hiring body in the United States of America. Even though his past experience is being the weekend host of Fox and Friends. Like, think about DEI hires in terms of like the previous head of the DOD. That's DEI, okay? Why is that DEI? Well, you know why. You know why he's DEI, okay? Pete Hegseth, on the other hand, not DEI. I wonder if DEI has anything to do with the actual competence demonstrated or the background of the individual at all. Just like everything else, DEI is, lo and behold, shocking to absolutely no one, at least in this community. DEI just means like they want to do what they think DEI is, but for white people. It's not merit-based at all, unless the only merit you care about is being white or being racist, really, or being a troll, which is interesting because that's kind of the reason why affirmative action and DEI was implemented to begin with. Because in the history of the United States, when you think about it, the only group of people that have ever actually been DEI recipients are white people. You know, at a time when black people and brown people were, and there's still remnants of this obviously, but at a time when black people were not allowed to get these jobs, or women were not allowed to get these jobs at all. And it had nothing to do with merit and everything to do with the color of your skin. There's never been a moment in American history where people were like, oh, are you black? Okay, you're hired. There have, however, been a lot of moments in American history where someone simply gets hired because they are not black or not a woman. Seems to me like that's what people are trying to go back to desperately. But in any case, the other racist Doge guy is restored. His position is restored, so fear not. This is the other one. This is the broccoli cut one. That's a separate Doge guy. He was fired by cybersecurity firm for leaking company secrets. and the other Doge guy is now reinstated. Elon said it's criminal for the reporter to be a reporter. What the hell? Certainly improper, possibly criminal. Catherine Long, the journalist of the hit piece that got a Doge employee to resign for a spicy post, is a USAID employee. How is this not a conflict of interest? Yeah, another example of white people DEI, or, you know, hiring a white person, not based off of merit, but simply because they did some racist, is Daniel Penny being hired by Andreessen Horowitz. Literally no experience whatsoever, with the exception of being a high profile guy who went through the court system after murdering with his bare hands a black homeless person on a New York City subway. And now he's got a job at Andreessen Horowitz. I wonder why he got hired there. The irony here, of course, is Elon Musk talking about a conflict of interest being possibly criminal, when now he is, for the price of $256 million, he is now in charge of every single government regulatory agency that has either active court cases against many of the companies that he owns, all of them, or have prosecuted him in the past for impropriety. I don't understand how this is a conflict of interest when a journalist is doing journalism. I've noticed that Elon is now saying everything he does not like is criminal. I know. It's definitely a little scary that Elon Musk gets to say things that he does not like are criminal now, especially when, you know, he does have a tremendous amount of influence over the current administration. He already got the Department of Justice to respond by saying that they would actively prosecute people that mention the names of the DOGE employees in general. Don't know if they're following up on that, but just something to consider as Elon Musk escalates.